All right, we want to thank our sponsors for helping us out. This has been a slow, hard year for us because we've all been stuck inside, and so we appreciate the support of all the different groups that come out and given us some money so that we can stay in business. Okay, I guess I'm next for the next topic, which is building a constituency. We're talking about how you organize. Laura, what year was it that we were driving home from San Luis Obispo, and we talked about starting Zero Waste San Diego? Two thou- 2003 or something. So Laura's my daughter. She's the founder of Zero Waste San Diego. She's going to speak a little later. Uh, and we've been doing zero waste in California Resource Recovery since '95, and we were discussing on the way home that we've done all these international conferences and statewide conferences, and literally we haven't done much in San Diego. And so the result was the development of Zero Waste San Diego as an organization. And as part of it is that if you have a global view, then you have to work locally. Next, first slide. So the question is, how do we build an organization and get people there? But the bottom line was, you got to get a crowd together, and as you can see in the bottom one, there's our symposium. But we started with the symposiums first. We started with, is there anybody out here who even cares? And so we picked Inconvenient Truth as our film, and in 2003, that was a pretty people were interested in that concept. And Laura worked in the libraries, and so we used libraries as our format, and we offered free film showings of Inconvenient Truth and some other films, and we managed to get really big crowds. And so in the conversation afterwards, there's always 20% of the people who don't leave, and we sat down and say, well, what should we do? And I think that's where Al Gore missed out on this movie, because it gets you all going, but it really doesn't give you a substantial answer on how you can solve it. So we realized that there was a need for some public education, and then ultimately some sort of movement. And so that's when we began our zero waste symposiums at over in Point Loma. At the Renee, and we put it all together and had a great group there. Over 100 people showed up and wanted to be part of our zero waste movement. Next slide. So part of it is you build in order to build a movement, you got to do stuff, and education was one. Of course, we spent a lot of time working on the San Diego City Council. Trying to get them to first to get a mandatory recycling ordinance. And by the way, it was a 9-0 vote when that finally happened. And once we passed it, it was a month later when San Francisco did the same thing. And then a month later, Seattle did it. So we created a domino effect of mandating that it's required that you recycle. Well, also, we wanted a zero waste plan. And, one of the things we did is we created a listserv on our website, the Zero Waste San Diego website. And then there's a list. So you get to the website and you put your email on the list, and now you're part of a conversation that happens throughout San Diego. And with that list, we let people know that you don't have to go down to city council, but the item's going to come up. We're going to ask them to consider a zero waste plan, and we need you to be there during the public comment to say, yes, you do it. And furthermore, we need you, when it gets going, we need you to let your city council member know that this is an important item. Well, the bottom line on that story was when we finally came back with the plan, because the council said, okay, write the plan, and they hired Hilton Farmcroft to put it together. I was part of that team, and it came to the floor, and the mayor, who's just gone out now, Kevin Falconer, he made a comment that we cannot get to sustainability without zero waste. And that's since it was a 9-0 vote, and the city is on the journey to get there. The Zero Waste San Diego, we wanted to engage people in reduce, reuse, repair, recycling, composting projects. And we came up with the concept of the fix-it clinics. Laura saw some work in in Berkeley with Peter Muir, and what they were doing up there, and we figured we could do that here. Part of it started in the library where they allowed her to put together a physics clinics right in the library using time. She was able to find fixers, which usually are old engineers or people who like to fix things. And they came in and volunteered, and then people brought in their stuff to do it. Got a little noisy in the library, so we moved on to other locations. We've done it in church parking lots and schools. One of our best venues was a local tavern, Last Chance Tavern, and there was our fix-it clinics going on. We did it with Goodwill, and we think over the last couple of years, hundreds of tons of materials have been diverted from landfill because we were able to fix it. Right now, with COVID, we don't want to jeopardize our fixers with the chance of a virus, but as vaccinations come along and things open up a little bit, we'll be back online with that. Next slide. Green Schools is another part of our program. One of our members of our board, Rich Flammer, put together a program. We had this old digester that the county had. It's actually a composting grinding machine in which you turn it around, and it needed a place, so we took it over to Ramona High School, and at the school they were bringing in the food scraps and grinding it up. Well, there was so much edible food that was there. Director in, and she looked at it and she said, "Oh well, this is a lot of good stuff." And we said, "Yeah, we could divert that." And pretty soon we're now diverting the edibles down to the local pantry, grinding up the compost and making it into soil. And they've got awards from EPA for doing this. And I tell you one thing I see in working in the schools and help setting up recycling and lunch programs is that most of these schools have composting gardens. A lot of them are raised with the irrigation and everything, but they're not being worked on. And the reason is the teachers don't get paid to do it, and so you have to find a real benevolent teacher who's going to take time off of grading papers and all their other stuff to work on the gardens. I think personally, it's my opinion, is that maybe this is somewhere where we could step in with a government program and hire, mobile composting people to work on the schools and set up these programs, because it's a natural to take food from the lunch program and compost it and grow food and show the kids how that all works. Next slide. The other piece was zero waste events that we do in 1990. A group of people, I was working for the county at the time, but we joined in, decided to do an Earth Fair at Balboa Park, and it turned out to be 50,000 people showed up. We just did a booth showing about recycling, but around 2000, I was the director of the Urban Corps. And it came up in April. They said, "Oh, by the way, we work the Earth Fair." And I go, "Well, what do you do at the Earth Fair?" "Well, we stand in front of the trash cans and we capture the aluminum cans." And I said, "Well, that's not my job to teach you how to be homeless. Let's figure out a better way." And Nancy Strauss and I worked out a signage program, and you can see the bins, our first bins that we came up with, these little music stand things holding up the signs in front of each bins, and each sign says what we wanted to do. And our first test, we put it out there, and we watched all day, and we watched people walk up to the sign with their children, look at the sign, look at their product, and put it in the right bin. So that next year, I talked to Rich Hayes, who is director of environmental services, and said, "Rich, you've got curbside collection going on here, and Balboa Park is a huge event. What do you think? You want to help us get the compost and the recycling out?" And they said yes. And so for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, the city of San Diego helped us set up the composting program. Now, I want to say that we started to do this every year because every year 60,000 people showed up. It was almost, you almost couldn't stop doing it. So for the last 20 years, we've been doing recycling and composting recovery at the Earth Fair. It usually runs about. You need usually about 100 volunteers to make it happen. EDCO now is our hauler and our vendor, Bob is there. Provides us all the containers. We have umbrellas with the bins with signs hanging down on what's there. And then we have trash talkers in front of the bins, basically making sure that they're clean. And at the end of the day, we remove them all. So at the beginning of the day, it turns out we have to clean up the park too. That turned out to be something that happened. I didn't realize it about 10 years into the program. That was our job as well. But the fact is, at the end of the day, the park is cleaner than we when we left it. This Now I use Urban Core and I used conservation cores to help me. We have trash talkers. Primarily, what's happening now is that we can get the blue bin because of all the recycling that's going on in San Diego. We can get the blue bin to the point where it meets the specifications of EDCO at their MRF to the point where we're not as concerned about that as we are about the compost bins. And so, well, last year when we were short of volunteers, we were able to focus on the green bin to make sure it's clean because the city is very particular about the kinds of material that they allow in their composting facilities. And we're one of the few big events that is allowed to do it. And the reason is that we have the kind of trash talkers to make sure that the stuff stays clean. And we're noticing every year it gets better, but what we're also seeing on the vendor side is uh, they want to go to single-use stuff. So we've made some rules, and we talked to all the vendors before. There's usually 300 vendors, and we'll call them and send them the rules. And the bottom line is no styrofoam, no single-use containers that are not recyclable or reusable can be delivered. And we have wooden forks and spoons and knives that we have boxes of it. And in the morning, we'll go to all the different vendors and make sure that they have the proper equipment. And if they don't, we sell them to them. And so in our last couple years, we've able to run 30 to 40 food vendors, basically with all recyclable materials and using wooden forks. Now, um, COVID happened this year, and we were into a new. We have to really work this one through because under COVID, they don't want mixed plastic with any food in it, and that's going to cause us to have to deal with some of our containers. So we're looking at other types of reusable containers that can be used with the vendors that will work in a large event where you got 50,000 people coming in. And the other part of this one is that there's no gates, so there's no way to stop them at the gates and frisk them or give them a reusable container. People come in. So, I don't know about what I don't know where it was, Laura, about 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Zero Waste San Diego wanted to know why we usually get to about 75% recovery and wanted to know what was in that other 25%. So literally we pulled out the trash bins and started to sort it. And we found out that a lot of that was baby diapers and bagged dog poop. We don't have any markets for those. So we feel that on a come as you are kind of thing, we are catching most of it. There are mistakes, they are, and we catch the vendors when they have throwaway items, and we take care of them. And we're looking forward to next year as well. All right, so that's basically Zero Waste San Diego. What's happened is that the other thing that we do in organizing, I'd say we're a 501c3. I suggest if you organize to do that, use films to get people to your meetings for sure. The symposiums to me have been one of our best programs we do because we gradually get more and more people involved in what we do and how we do it, and this is all good. This is all good. It's last year we sold out. We actually had 400 seats in the county building, and we couldn't fit another person in. I had to turn away two people, and that's upsetting to me. But we'll work it out this year. This is working out. We have over 200 people registered and virtual. Everybody's got a good seat. Everybody can see what they're doing. If you want any tips on organizing at your own local community, you can give me a call. And I'm going to terminate my talk on how to organize and move into one of the best organizers I know in the world. His name is Powell Martinson.